Melatonin, is it helpful or harmful? Melatonin is everywhere. It's on the shelf at the grocery store, Costco, Amazon, and many online retailers. It does not require a prescription in the US, so it must be safe, right? Well, I found out that in the United States, melatonin is considered a dietary supplement and maybe not a drug. This means that it's regulated less strictly by the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, than a prescription or even an over-the-counter drug would be. In several other countries, melatonin is available only with a prescription and is considered a drug. Melatonin is available only by prescription in the United Kingdom. And so what does the FDA mean by less strictly? That means anybody, including children and seniors with dementia, can buy the drug without regulation. What is the value of learning about melatonin because it is so available? It started out for me with my 11-year-old grandson that was staying with us while his parents were away, and he said he had to take his melatonin before bed. That got me to thinking about the impact of this drug on this growing boy, and was it really necessary? Let's find out. So when we think about what happens in the human brain or neurobiology with melatonin, I found out several things. According to the U.S. National Institute of Health, melatonin is a hormone that your brain produces in response to darkness. It helps with the timing of your circadian rhythms, the 24-hour internal clock, and with sleep. Being exposed to light at night can block melatonin production. So if melatonin is a hormone that the brain naturally produces, why do we need to take more? Here's some examples of some of the drug's main and side effects. In a study by McDonough and colleagues in 2019, they reported on a systematic study that included 22 placebo-controlled randomized controlled trials, and they differed in length from 1 to 13 weeks. They involved 1,758 children. Mean age was 8.2. The single randomized controlled trials of two drugs, zolpidem and ezopiclone, in children with deficit hyperactivity disorder, showed no improvement in sleep or ADHD ratings after the study. So because this study also looked at two other drugs, zolpidem and ezopiclone, the two drugs are both prescription controlled and much more serious than melatonin. The first one, zolpidem, is a non-benzodiazepine receptor moderator, primarily in the FDA-approved category of short-term treatment of insomnia. It's aimed at patients with difficulty falling asleep. Zolpidem belongs to the control substance class C4 medicines and is regulated by the Drug Enforcement Agency. The other drug is esopiclone, is used to treat insomnia, again with people who are having trouble sleeping. It belongs to a group of medicines called central nervous system depressants, which slow down the nervous system. Ezopiclone helps you get to sleep faster and sleep throughout the night. In most cases, sleep medicine should only be used for short periods of time, such as 1 or 2 days, or for no longer than 1 or 2 weeks. This medicine is available also only with your doctor's prescription. A couple of common names for these drugs are Lunesta and Ambien, and they have those drugs in them. So let's look at what happens in the brain pictorially. There's a quick 2-minute video I found that explains what we know about melatonin that naturally occurs in your body. You can turn the video off right now and watch that video, or you can just keep going. The graphic to the right illustrates where melatonin is produced in the hypothalamus. If your melatonin levels are low, then taking this supplement might be helpful. But the hospital websites that I reviewed all recommended talking with your doctor, and those were the Mayo Clinic and Mount Sinai. What are some consequences of this drug on individuals and society? The most common side effects are headache, dizziness, nausea, daytime drowsiness. Well, none of those sound good. And in relation to other diseases, people that have epilepsy and those taking blood thinner, like warfarin or Eliquis, need to be under medical supervision when taking melatonin supplements. The safety concerns for older people: in 2015, guidelines by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommend against melatonin use by people with dementia. Melatonin may stay active in older people longer than in younger people, and then thus cause daytime drowsiness. Okay, so what's the bottom line, or what's my conclusion after looking at all this information? My final concern after reviewing this information is that melatonin has adverse effects of using it with children and some adults. Going back to my grandson, in thinking that if he turned off his iPad or his iPhone earlier and was not looking at light for 2 hours before bedtime, he might not need melatonin. As for myself, since I take a blood thinner, I didn't know it might cause bleeding if I took melatonin. For older adults in general, the impact of being drowsy during the day and taking naps, and then again having trouble sleeping at night. That's not a good thing. The other concern I read about was the different qualities of melatonin that were discovered in the research. With that level of discrepancy in the quantity and quality of melatonin, I would be very comfortable with the FDA to begin regulating it so that Americans might be safe. Going back to my original question on the title of this, is melatonin helpful or harmful? I have reached the conclusion that it can be helpful, but it's also harmful to some. And here are my references